I mean, I go pretty often. I go about twice a month.
Yeah, it's fun, man. Everyone does this nice.
Just make sure it goes back out or something like that.
Okay, cool. Everyone got goggles? So there you go, my shirt.
Y'all good?
Sweet gun, man. What gun is that?
It's an AK-47. Awesome carry. I carry handgun. Most of us carry legal handguns.
Oh, I see. Is that like a security thing?
Yeah, it's sort of self-protection.
Yeah, yeah.
The stigma is always, if there are guns, then black people must be doing something wrong. Even the producer, he innocently did it, but he innocently said to the guy at the counter, oh, these guys are good. It's an innocent thing, but it is the perception that is always coming down on black people. We're the criminals, we're the thieves, we're the bad guy. It's almost as though being black, you can't legally carry guns.
How do you think that stigma affects young black men in America?
Like any oppression affects any man. If I shove you every day, if every day you see me, I shove you, and I shove you, and I shove you, after a while, what are you gonna do?
Shove back.
I see you pretty good on that target too.
Hey, my first rodeo, man.
Yeah.
I was hoping you would crook it.
So yeah, you brothers, like you saw in that clip, you know, you got this asshole General Gehenna, you know, talking about shooting guns, and he's always talking about, you know, black, you know, if you're black, you're black, you know, if you're black, you know, you got the stigma of you can't carry a gun in the United States. All right, you know why he keeps saying that? Because the so-called government of the United States, they label the Hebrew Israelites under a cloak or a broad term called BHIs, okay? Right, like you see here, which I got this, if you look it up on, you type in Project Megiddo, all right? You type in the PDF for it, or the PDF file, and you'll see this. And this whole thing will come up. So it says the attached analysis entitled Project Megiddo is an FBI strategic assessment of the potential for domestic terrorism in the United States undertaken in anticipation of or response to the arrival of the new millennium. So this was written right before the year 2000, okay? All right, so I'm just gonna see if you see here, it says Project Megiddo, table of contents, and you scroll down and it has all the different chapters. But the main one we want to go to is chapter 6, all right, which starts on page 23. All right, because that's why General Gehenna, he always says if you're black this or you're black that, you know, because he sold out and they have to label us just like the Black Panthers, all right, and that's why they're on a major cable network called Viceland, showing them shooting guns, shooting fully automatic AK-47s, handguns. So they're trying to tie us into like like they did in the 60s with the Panthers. Just like how they infiltrated the Black Panthers. All right? General Gehenna, he's that Judas goat, that Uncle Tom, that sellout, that's selling out the Israelites, all right? and you niggas that's following that fat piece of shit, man, you better wake the fuck up, man, for the Lord destroy you, man. But it says, this is chapter 6, right? The Black Hebrew Israelites. The term is called BHI for short, all right? And they're known as a radical terrorist group, domestic terrorist group, under the terms of the FBI. So it says Black Hebrew Israelites. As the millennium approaches, so keep in mind this was written right before the year 2000, like 1999, coming into the year 2000. But it applies today still. In 2017, here it is, we're in February, 2017. So it says, as the millennium approaches, radical fringe members of the Black Hebrew Israelite BHI movement may pose a challenge for law enforcement, as with the adherents of most apocalyptic philosophies. All right. So the word apocalyptic means, the end times, dealing with the apocalypse or the end times, all right? And that's what we're out there teaching on the highways and the byways, and on the unicorn's horn, which is the internet. We're teaching about the destruction of America, all right? When according to the apocalypse, all right? Right? The book of Revelation, if you read it in Spanish, and in the so-called Latin tribe, they say apocalypso, all right? Which it means the end times, So it says apocalyptic philosophies. Certain segments of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement have the potential to engage in violence at the turn of the century, all right? So that's why they're showing this Uncle Tom Judas goat, General Gehenna and his demon horde shooting fully automatic weapons on a major cable network, because they're setting the stage, so to speak, to come against the true elect men of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. All right? It says this movement has been associated with extreme acts of violence in the past, and current intelligence from a variety of sources indicates that extreme faction of BHI groups are preparing for a race war to close the millennium, all right? So the race war is still coming, It didn't come at the close of the millennium, which was the year 2000, because the prophecy of the Lord happened in his time, all right? They don't happen according to man's mind frame or his time frame, all right? But the race war is coming, and we prophesy that every week, man, every day, and you see it now with this devil Trump, now that he's got in office, and you see the true colors of these Edomites, the so-called white men, these so-called white people, the devil, you see their true colors coming out. Just in the news today, what's today's date? Today is the, February 2nd? February 2nd, right? Just in the news today, they had, where, they were stopping people, asking them for their papers, and I put it in post-production, asking them for their papers just by the way they look, So this thing is about to turn up. The heat is about to be turned up on this bitch. All right. So it says, so that's why they're showing pictures of, video of, so-called BHI members shooting automatic weapons because they want to have the justification when it's time for them to roll. They want to be able to roll on this and the people be with it. And the people look at the elect men of the Lord as terrorists. So it says violent BHI followers can generally be described as proponents of an extreme form of black supremacy, which is true because we are the supreme beings. You know, it's not black, all right? It's not black supremacy. It's Israelite supremacy, okay? Because the Lord chose a nation. You know, he chose a nation of people, and we are not black. We are different shades of brown, okay? Different shades of brown. You know, starting from the so-called Negro, you know, the Latino, you know, you so-called Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, you know, Cubans, Mexicans. You are all Israelites. Native American, so-called Native American Indians. We are all different shades of brown, and we're all one people. And we all have one common enemy. And this fat fuck that was shooting the guns in the video, he said out of his own mouth, he said, God hates the white man, but we don't hate the white man. So you know that fat piece of shit sold out. So it says, drawing upon the teachings of earlier BHI, Black Hebrew Israelites adherents, such groups hold that blacks represent God's true chosen people, which the so-called African American or the so-called Negro here in America, they are part of God's chosen people, all right? From the tribe of Judah, okay? Specifically, you know? But, you know, you have 11 other tribes also, you know? The so-called Haitians. The so-called Haitians are the tribe of Levi, the so-called people from Jamaica and the West Indies. They're the tribe of Benjamin. You know, you have the tribe of Ephraim, the so-called Puerto Ricans. You have the tribe of Manasseh, which is the so-called Cubans. You know, you have the tribe of Issachar, which is the so-called Mexicans. The tribes of Gad and Reuben, which are the North American and the Seminole Indians, so-called. So it's not just a black thing. All right? So it says, while condemning whites as incarnate manifestations of evil, which is true, we always say that the white man is the devil because he is. He is the incarnate, or which means in the flesh, manifestation of evil, of the devil, of Satan. He's the physical, these so-called white people are the physical counterpart of Satan. As God's authentic Jews, Black Hebrew Israelites adherents believe that mainstream Jews are actually imposters, which is true. These people claiming to be Jewish, they are imposters. They do not descend from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They descend from Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. Okay? And they are imposters. You know? They are not of the tribe of Judah. All right? So it says, such beliefs bear a striking resemblance to the Christian ideology, to the Christian identity theology, says practiced by many white supremacists. All right? But that's pretty much the point. I'm going to skip down. If you brothers want to read more, I'm gonna just get to the points. It says the extreme elements of the Black Hebrew Israelite movement are prone to engage in violent activity, allegedly, no proof there, they're just saying it, as seen in previous convictions of BHI followers. And that's why in the news, you know, you always have guys, you know, they're always setting guys up. You know, like I'm going to play in the next clip. they're trying to link him to the Israelites because they want to tie us in. It says adherents of this philosophy have a proven history of violence. What like the so-called white man doesn't have a history of violence, man. He don't have a history of violence. He stole this land. He slaughtered the Native American Indians. He enslaved the so-called Negroes halfway around the world, brought them over here on slave ships. That's not a history of violence. But our people have a history of violence. The conquistadors came here from Spain, right? And stole everything and enslaved the people. But they don't have a history of violence. You hear this fucking bullshit hypocrisy? It says, and several indications point toward a continuation of this trend. You know, but the so-called white man, he don't have it. He don't have a trend of being violent, right? You know, how did he get this country? How did he get possession of this land that's called North America? He stole it. He killed for it. He raped, he robbed, he murdered for it. You know? It says some BHI followers or Black Hebrew Israelite followers have been observed in public donning primarily black clothing. And that's another way that you know guys have sold out. They wear all black. You know, like the apostles, you know, Apostle Tahar, Apostle Gabar, Apostle Rakah, Apostle Ramlab on down. They always talk about, you know, witches wear all black. Once you sold out, you wear all black. Okay? And when you saw that video with the guy, you know, the guys from ISUPK shooting the automatic weapons and shooting the handguns, most of those members had all black clothing on. Okay? You know? So that proves these guys sold out. That proves that they got demons on them. All right? So it says, some BHI followers have been observed in public donning primarily black clothing with emblems and or patches bearing the Star of David symbol. Some, which that goes back to the Star of Remphan, you know. That's not actually a symbol that our forefathers wore. It says some BHI members practice paramilitary operations and wear web belts and shoulder holsters. You know, that goes back. You know, that goes back to One West. You know, the old school One West. When you had Lahab trying to basically form the school like it was a paramilitary operation. You know. And that devil sold out a long time ago. That's why Apostle Tahar be getting all over that demon, man. You know? And that demon resurfaced after over 20 years being absent. Nobody heard a peep of that from that guy. He was back in the world doing whatever other wickedness. And now all of a sudden he wants to peep his head up like, you know, like he never left. Hey, that's all right though. The Lord sees everything. The Lord's going to deal with everybody, you know, according to their works. So it says some BHI members practice paramilitary operations and wear web belts and shoulder holsters. Some adherents have extensive criminal records for a variety of violations, including weapons charges, assault, drug trafficking, and fraud. All right. Let me see. Yeah, that's the point on that. It goes into like Yahweh ben Yahweh. You know, if anybody knows about that guy, he took a group of Israelites, you know, back to the land of Israel. All right, which is the scriptures say that in the curses in Deuteronomy 28, you know, it said that thou shalt see it no more again. Talking about our homeland. So it's not the time for us to be in our homeland, you know. Although you do have certain Israelites that's over there from the diaspora, but to actively just up and leave here or leave wherever you are to go back home, go back there. That's not spiritual. It says while the BHI belief system may have roots in the United States as far back as the Civil War era, the movement became more recognized as a result of the teachings of an individual known as Ben Ami Ben Israel, aka Ben Carter, from the south side of Chicago. It says Ben Israel claims to have had a vision at the age of 27, hearing a voice tell me that the time had come for Africans, which we're not Africans, all right? The Africans are in the scriptures are known as the Hamites, all right? And the so-called Afro-Americans or African Americans, you are not African, okay? You are Israelites. The true Africans are known as the Hamites of the Bible, all right? And although our people fled to Africa, when you read from Babylon to Timbuktu, it gives an account of how our people fled into the west coast of Africa, fleeing Roman persecution, all right, to mix in with the darker nations and to hide ourselves from the Romans that were looking to kill us off. But we are not Africans. That's why in the late 1500s, early 1600s, those true Africans or the true Hamites, they sold us. They turned against us and sold us unto the white man or the Edomites and sold us here, as slaves in America. That's why our people came here on cargo slave ships. It said, the descendants of the biblical Israelites. All right. Let me see. Yeah, and our people, and because it's gonna say about. I'm gonna read this one quick point. It says, Ben Israel persuaded a group of African Americans to accompany him to Israel in 1967. All right, teaching that African Americans descended from the biblical tribe of Judah, which is true, and therefore that Israel is the land of their birthright, which is true. Ben Israel and his followers initially settled in Liberia for the purposes of cleansing themselves of bad habits. Now Liberia, right? Liberia, or even what they call the Ivory Coast, is, you have Ivory Coast, you have Liberia, right there on the western coast, the western section of Africa, was mainly where our people dwelt. Okay, so a majority of those people that dwelt in those lands are Israelites. All right.